inherently beautiful features of a mean analogy, notice. That means it has double symmetry. You can fold it over twice either way and you reproduce the other side. Therefore, it has symmetry. It has balance because you can take the first two terms from the first place and transfer it to the second, or take the second and transfer it to the first. You can take the extreme terms and the extreme terms A and C and make them the mean terms, the middle terms. You can take A, B, B, C, A, B, B, C. You can take C, B, B, A, C, B, B, A. You can take B, B, A, B, A, C, B, which is the same as B, A, C, B. You can take B, C, A, B, the same thing as B, C, A, B. And therefore you have inherently within a mean analogy a wide variety of aesthetic principles: symmetry, balance, order, transformation. Now let's go back into this curious one line which is so great in Plato now. Now, that which has come into existence must needs to be of bodily form, visible, tangible. Yet without fire nothing could ever become visible nor tangible without some solidity, nor solid without earth. Hence, in beginning to construct the body of the all, God was making it of fire and earth. But it's not possible for two things alone to be conjoined without a third. For there must needs be some intermediary bond to connect the two. And the most beautiful of bonds is that which most perfectly unites into one both itself and the things which it binds together. And to effect this in the most beautiful manner is the natural property of analogy. Proportion, analogy are the same word. One's Latin, one's Greek. Now, we can now look at that diagram and read this section, and you will see that the words in this paragraph can easily be represented in the diagram we have there. For whenever the middle term of any three numbers, whether you're talking about cubic or square, is such that the first term is to it, such as the first term is to it, we're on the first line, we can go right through this and you can see that this is a way of representing what he is saying, as the first term is to it. For whenever the middle term of any three numbers, cubic or square, is such that the first term is to it, so is it to the last term, so is it to the last term, B is to C. And again, conversely, as the last term is to the middle, as the last term is to the middle, right, so is the middle to the first, so is the middle to the first, going both ways. Then the middle term becomes, in turn, the first and the last, while the first and last become its middle terms. That's exactly what we did. First and the last become its middle terms. Therefore, the constructor of the universe uses the most beautiful mathematical expression, the mean analogy, in the construction of the universe. Now here's where we have a problem. See, these are three terms. He also says it can be for four terms. The four terms, of course, are going to come out to be the four elements. Now, if there's anything that is peculiar about the idea of the four elements, is that the four elements do not mean the four elements. The way we understand the ancients is totally wrong. The four elements are not elements. And that's going to cause us a nice deal of fun. In order to do that first, let's see now whether we can pause before I go into this section, which is the section on analogies, the four elements, and bring it together with the form and the formless. Let's see now if we can then quickly grasp what we were doing before and bring it together, right? What is it then that the Demiurgos did in bringing this creation into existence? Going backwards, he used the most beautiful the most beautiful of analogies. And built in within the whole idea of analogy must be the property of likeness. Since the goal is to make the universe as much as possible like unto himself, since there's no envy at all possible in the Demiurgos, we can now go back and say, what is it that the Demiurgos does when he brings into existence the cosmos and the all? He judges it. He makes value judgments, better, worse. He's guided by beauty, good. Right? He brings things into order. He judges the order as more beautiful and more and better, of course, than disorder. He sees that. He has, therefore, an insight, what the work called perceives. He reflects. Right? He goes through reflections. He turns about and makes reflections about the whole at least twice. And it starts with an elemental desire that all should be as much as possible like unto himself. Now, this, of course, is taking things in a sequence, isn't it? It's taking it in terms of a sequence. See, that's what we were talking about a moment ago. See, time is in sequence, isn't it? Present, past, future. Well, time is a moving image of eternity. Now, what does that mean? That means we can break up the creative process and talk about it in stages, but obviously it takes place as a simultaneous whole. Therefore, the mind of the Creator, all of this takes place as a simultaneous whole, and that's the very idea of eternity. Because when everything is seen as a simultaneous whole, that which always is, and that which always is then is an insight into the mind of the Creator, or the most fundamental idea of God, then that is the model for all creation and existence. Therefore, you see, as this goes on, if you want to become like this Demiurgos, then you too now are going to have to do what? You're going to have to desire that you yourself become as beautiful and good as possible, and therefore there's no alternative with that desire, is that you must then reflect and bring everything into order, not disorder. You must then see the processes that bring it into order. You must guide it. You must judge the one to be better than the other. You must recognize that beauty is one of the guiding principles of creation, because that not only is beautiful, but it's also good. And as you do that and bring it about through analogies, through the creative process of using these analogies, you are in fact becoming like the Demiurgos, like the divine. That's what Plato's doing. Now, with this in the background, I'd like to now go into the next part, which is what is this nature of reality to Plato? What is this? All right, look around. One thing we're sure of, it's all forms, isn't it? All right, everything you see has a form, and we've been told that it has elements. Well, let's take a look at this rather curious thing. These are sometimes called elements. But in Plato, they are not. Elements usually means they're primordial, they're basic, they're intrinsic. And therefore we laugh at the Greek view, because anyone who holds that the basic elements of creation are these things, since we have the